80% of the vote in. Dave Bratt, Professor Bratt, has 56% of the vote. Cantor has 44% of the vote. This is a landslide. This is a citizen candidate. This is a solid conservative. This is a man who embraced the Tea Party, who embraced Reagan conservatism, and he was a class act throughout. He was under terrible, terrible assault with an enormous amount of money spent attacking him, commercial after commercial, mailer after mailer. The liberal Richmond Times-Dispatch editorialized in favor of Cantor. They so disrespected him they wouldn't even mention his name. Cantor reversed himself over and over and over again on the issue of amnesty. I don't ever remember. I'm sure the history buffs out there will figure it out. Certainly in modern times, a majority leader being defeated within his primary, certainly not a Republican majority leader, certainly not a Republican majority leader in the House, because there haven't been that many of them. This is a heavily Republican district. The Republican machine was in full force. The consultants from Washington, D.C. poured into this district to try and save Cantor. And they couldn't, because of his positions, because of his lackluster leadership, because he, like Boehner, he, like McConnell, are so busy in this inside the Beltway scheming, so busy trying to control what their position's going to be within this caucus or that caucus, that they forget the people back home. I am telling you, this is a landslide for a first-time candidate, a citizen candidate, a class act, a man who ran a really respectable campaign. He is the David who defeated Goliath. And this will resonate. It'll be felt in Mississippi. It'll be felt in Oklahoma. It'll be felt in other places. I'm not in the prediction game. I don't know who's going to do what. This should send a message. This should send a message. But you watch. You watch as the mouthpieces for the neo-statist Republicans go on the attack. I already saw Carl Cameron, who I like, on the Fox News channel say, the only way now for Cantor to win is to be a write-in candidate. A write-in candidate? What happened to the big tent? Is it just full of circus clowns? Why would the media plant that seed for Cantor unless his people are thinking about it? Who are the purists now? Who are the scorched earth types now? It's not us. It's them. Thad Cochran should have stepped out, said, okay, I was beaten in the primary fair and square. I know what the rule is, the 50% threshold. Instead, Haley Barbour announces they're going to smear McDaniel. And then if we lose that seat, they'll blame it on us. I'm sick of it. They don't get to call the shots. McConnell with his lousy 60% in the Republican primary in Kentucky. The man's been running for office forever. He got 4% more vote than Bratt so far, who's never run for anything. Cornyn with his great 59% in the Republican primary in Texas. That is awful against underfunded candidates, multiple candidates. And Boehner, 69%. The Speaker of the House can't even get 90% of Republicans in his home district where he's been there for 24 years. Let me tell you what this tells me. This Republican leadership, they're paper tigers. I hate to say this. Obama's right. They're paper tigers. He walks all over them, the way Putin walks all over Obama. These guys are trying to hold on to their power. They've been around a long, long time. They've enlisted their buddies at the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism. They want their payback time. They've delivered for the Chamber. They've delivered for these special interests. They were going to deliver amnesty. If this doesn't send a signal to Paul Ryan and to Mitch McConnell and to Boehner and all the rest of them, then this party is not long for politics. Yet again, the people are trying to speak through these various mechanisms that we have. The question is, will Washington now pay attention? This isn't going to stop. The death of the Tea Party. In essence, the death of liberty? No, this is not going to stop. None of us are going to stop. The country's too important. We're not part of the inside the Beltway crowd. We're not part of all this consultancy group. We're not changing jobs, going in government, going into consultancies, going back to government, lobbying, stuffing our pockets through redistribution of wealth and subsidies. That's not how most of us live. This is a massive upset. This is a landslide upset. This isn't a couple hundred votes. What is it now? 86% of the vote in, 55.8% to 44.2%. That's what we call an ass kicking. And when you consider the amount of money that was poured into this race on behalf of Cantor, the endless TV ads, this was the race. And I'm proud we had Mr. Bratt on this program 3 times, including yesterday. And he's a very kind man. He really is. He's a very decent man. And he's always appreciative. He's always very pleasant to you, right, Mr. Producer? Always. Always. So, in my way of looking at things, this is a victory for we the people. Because now we have their attention. Whether they admit it or not, whether they trash us or not, whether they spin it or not, now we have their attention. Now what are they going to do about it? Mitch McConnell, you cannot win your Senate seat without our support. And there you are doing a fundraiser, I think it's today or tomorrow in Washington, D.C., for Thad Cochran, trying to defeat Chris McDaniel. Not because it's good for America, not because it's good for the Republican Party. Thad Cochran is not good for the Republican Party. Thad Cochran's better days, they went by a decade ago. And yet you back him because you're so power-craven. You can taste the majority slot that you, who are running neck and neck with your liberal Democrat opponent, are so arrogant, you're so power-hungry, you're so petty, that you're trying to affect other races, rather than mind your own business and take care of what's going on in Kentucky. And we could well have a situation where the Republicans win the Senate and McConnell loses, or because of the arrogance and conduct of the Republican machinery in Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a Republican. Many of you are Republicans. We have nothing to do with this machinery. We don't even know who the hell runs the damn thing. But that said, they are so off-putting, so arrogant, so nasty to the base. They need to reject the Karl Roves by now. They need to reject the Bushes. They need to stop trying to force candidates down our throats who are losers. They need to start to listen to what we want. We're trying to help save the Republic. We can't continue on this course. We can't rubber stamp what Obama's doing. He's a disaster. He's a disaster. Which is why we want a Republican Party that's going to stand up for us. Let me suggest a basic point. Mr. Boehner, Mr. McConnell, all the rest of you scheming in the shadows, you push amnesty now. There's going to be revolt within your party. People will stay home. Now, we can argue all we want that they shouldn't stay home, but they will stay home. Mitt Romney running around the country endorsing rhino candidates, millions of people stayed home. Reagan Democrats stayed home. We should have won that race. Obama's record was awful this election cycle. His first debate was a disaster. His ideology is radical. In so many ways, it's un-American. A barely competent conservative candidate could have and should have beat Obama. They talk about Aiken. Aiken didn't bring up the 47% issue. Romney did. He's the one that put his foot in his mouth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not being too harsh. Don't you want to win? Most people under 50 have never had an opportunity to vote for a conservative president. They don't know what it's like to watch him or her campaign. They don't know what it's like to watch somebody win. It's exciting. It's invigorating. It's important to the country to have somebody in the Oval Office where every damn day you don't have to wake up and say, what the hell is he doing now? What the hell is she doing now? The country's tired. It's tired of being frustrated. It's tired of being pushed around. We're tired of these bullies in Washington, D.C. We don't like it. No, we can't win every primary, but the showing in Boehner's district, the showing in Kentucky, the showing in Texas, these are significant numbers that underfunded, unknown candidates are getting against these establishment incumbents who are loaded with campaign cash from the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism and all the rest. This is a good day. I have nothing against Eric Cantor, nothing personal against the man whatsoever. Nothing. But he needs to do something else, as do so many of the others. I can't project, I can't speak for them, but I believe, through all my studies and scholarship, that the framers would be very pleased today. They would be very pleased to see a citizen candidate at every campaign stop, at every rally, talking about the Constitution, talking about limited government, talking up capitalism and free markets, defeating somebody who used to talk about those things, but became so enthralled with his power, so focused on palace politics, that he lost touch with his voters. Let us hope the rest of the Republicans learn their lesson from this. Although my prediction is, and I don't make predictions, that many of them won't.